G'day team, Jeremy Britton, 24-hour wealth coach, hanging out in the park after my sunrise meditation this morning, hoping you can actually hear the sounds of the cicadas and the birds and the frogs and things going off this morning. Very quiet as far as the human beings are concerned this time of the morning, but really alive as far as the birds and animals are concerned. One of the things that I do with my work, I get to hang around with a lot of interesting people, and I hang out with CEOs and share traders and money people, very much left-brained, analytical, mathematical, on that side of the head. And I also get to hang out with some other interesting people, what I call the hippies, the enlightened ones, operating on the right side of the brain. And last week I got to hang out with an Indian yogi, which was pretty awesome, to hang out with a guy who's been meditating for about 50 years and studying himself. And very much in the Western world, we're very good at studying the world. We're very good at studying the outside. We're always opening our eyes and looking out for new knowledge. We discover the moon and we discover the stars and we discover the depths of the ocean. We're always exploring new things. Whereas in the Eastern cultures, they're very much closing their eyes and looking within and discovering new things about themselves. And it's very interesting when you can combine the left and the right hemisphere. Obviously, it's helpful for my workshops and seminars, knowing the strategies, trading properties, trading shares, operating on businesses, and also having the millionaire mindset on the right-hand side. But just looking at discovering more about yourself and going within rather than always looking at the external stuff. Just as an example, one of the things that I've discovered by going within and looking at myself is the attitudes that I picked up towards wealth when I was very young, when I was impressionable, when I didn't have really a conscious mind, just a subconscious, and learning things from my parents, how they operated around money. And from my dad's perspective, his belief system or his operational system was, in order to get more money, you had to work very hard. And my dad always worked very hard. I would describe him as a workaholic. And operating in his capacity, working very hard to make more money, and also studying, full-time studying for many years while he was working, because the more he studied, the more he could actually learn and the more he could get paid. So it was always about actually increasing his capacity to bring in more and more money. That's how my dad operated. How my mum operated was always on the other side of the equation, so they were a good balance. Mum was always about frugality. She was always about increasing the wealth by limiting what was going out. So my mum recycled everything. She always made her own lunches and our lunches and that sort of stuff, rather than spending money on takeaway. And if we were going away for a couple of days, she'd always pack an esky. Mum was very good at conserving the money that we had coming in. And between the two of them, they operated very well. It's hard bringing up 6 kids on one income. It's hard sending 6 kids to private school on one income, but they managed to do it. Very good. However, when I look at myself, I actually picked up the worst habits of both of my parents. And when I started my working career, I worked very hard, and I was also very frugal with myself. I wasn't frugal with others, but I had a big issue with spending money on myself. I would go years without buying myself a t-shirt. However, I would actually spend money on other people because I didn't have that rule for them. I had that rule for myself. I had to be very frugal with myself, and I had to work very hard. Now, my parents never actually told me to my face that you need to work very hard and spend no money. They never told that to me. And when I go inside myself and I look at myself, I can understand they did what they did so that I could have a better start in life. My dad worked very hard, and my mum spent no money on herself so that I could go to a private school, so that I could have a good education, so I could mix with good people and learn good things. They did that for me. They sacrificed for me. They never suggested that I needed to do exactly the same thing myself. So once I had that freedom, once I could look inside myself and say, hey, these rules, I've placed them on myself. I don't need to have these rules. I don't need to be bound by this family tradition. I don't need to work myself into the ground and have a heart attack at 32 years old because I'm working so hard and I'm not having any fun. I don't need to do that. I can actually redefine what I want to do. I thank my mum and dad for doing what they did for me. It was a very big sacrifice that they made for us. But I don't need to actually do that because I live in a different world and I can operate on different traditions. Little share for the day. It may resonate with you, it may not, depending on where your family tradition, where your culture is, what habits and what belief systems you've picked up from your family. Perhaps it's intergenerational, who knows? But having a look inside of yourself, as well as having a look on the outside. I guess the difference is looking on the outside, you'll pick up education, you'll pick up what they call intelligence. Looking on the inside, you'll pick up wisdom. I'll talk to you soon, down on the beach or at 24hourwealthcoach.com.